I want to talk a little bit about colors and specifically gradients. So here we have a rectangle, which is a square, and a circle. And I'm going to pull down the window menu and find the gradient palette. And I'm also going to find under the window palette, on the window menu, I'm going to get this swatches palette. Illustrator likes to work with swatches, and they are kind of nice because if you select a swatch out of these default colors, you can easily go back because you know as you design more colors, you know exactly what color you had chosen. All right. And in the gradient palette, you do have a bunch of these pre-built-in gradients. So some of them are linear and some of them are radial. I will let you experiment with those on your own because what I like to do is I like to start from scratch. And here, so I've got my shapes. You can select one or you can select them both at the same time. And I'm going to, you have this linear and you have a radial. I'm going to select the linear gradient and you can see the orange stayed here and it gave me this black. So it has an orange to black gradient, a linear gradient. But what I'm going to do is come and take this yellow, press it and hold it down and drag that and let go in this black spot. Come on. Right there. So now we have an orange to yellow gradient. We can also make that a radial gradient if we want. But we can have a lot more control over it because here in the toolbar is a gradient tool. So I've got my shape selected. I made the gradient. Now we get this gradient tool. And let's go back to linear. And you can see that the rectangle has a orange to yellow and the circle has an orange to yellow. But what we can do is we can press and hold the mouse down and drag across all of the shapes that we have selected, and we can have one gradient go through all of the shapes. It's usually better to go top to bottom when doing gradients, or to do a vertical gradient rather than a horizontal. Now you can see that I started outside of the shape and I drug through. What you can do is you can hold the shift key down and that makes it go perfectly straight. This is what happens if you start inside the shape. That's our orange, right? You can make it a very sharp transition or a very soft transition. You can also bring in additional shapes or different colors. So what we can do is I can take this color. That's gonna not be so pretty anymore. If I click right there, I can drag a color into that spot, highlight it, and there we go. So we can drag some different colors into here. Let's select both of these shapes and get the gradient tool. So you can have some fun with playing with these gradients. The way to make something look three-dimensional is all based on the gradients, especially a linear gradient. If you want something to look three-dimensional, gets a gradient tool. Where are you? Right there. All right. Now, another thing you might have noticed is here in the layers panel, we have lost our stroke. So we can come in here and we can double click and we can still add a stroke on the outside. It's best to add the gradient to the fill, and it's usually best not to give the stroke a gradient because that's just kind of confusing and the stroke is really small. But when I'm moving too quickly, sometimes I will accidentally put my gradient on the stroke and then I'll wonder why I can't see the gradient. So that's another thing to double check, is to make sure that you have your fill on top when working with gradients.